and today we're going to be doing my Bout of Books 13.0 wrap up. So if you haven't been following me around on Twitter lately, I participated in the Bout of Books 13.0 readathon. I didn't do a TBR video only because right when I would have posted it was kind of right on the turnover between when I was at my parents' house and when I was here. And I'm also participating in RubeSat next week, and I've tweeted about my TBR for that, but I'm not going to talk about it in a video, but I will do a wrap up for that as well. But so I read 6 books. Let me just double check that. Yes, I read 6 books during the Bout of Books readathon, and I'm really proud of myself. I did carefully select what I was going to read to try and read as much as possible, but I am very proud with what I've done. I didn't think I'd be able to read that much. I was thinking maybe 3 books, but my housemate went away for half of the week, which definitely helped because I was less distracted, and I got a lot of study done, and I knuckled down and also got a bunch of books read, so I'm going to talk about them now. Also, hopefully the lighting is better because I switched off lamps and I'm now using natural light today, so we'll see if it balances a bit nicer than it has been. So first off, during Bout of Books, I read Spice by Lala Suzanne. This is an interlude press novel following Benji and Simon. Our main character is Simon. We kind of follow from the point of view of Simon. And Simon is a sex advice columnist, and he's trying to sort out his own love life, and it's a romance, and it's really sweet and fun. I loved this. I'm going to talk about it more in my monthly wrap up, I think, but I really enjoyed this. I liked that Simon has a bunch of flaws, so does Benji, and it's a romance, but it didn't seem forced at all, and I just really loved it. I did give it 5 stars. Recommend, actually I recommend all of the interlude press novels. If you want queer romance, do it. If you think you might enjoy queer romance but don't really know if you really want to read it, you want to read it. It's gorgeous, and this stuff isn't overdone. Like, I feel like sometimes queer romance can be too based in the problems of being gay that it doesn't just be a romance. And these just be a romance, and it's great. I love it. Then I read I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, which I absolutely adored. I also gave this 5 stars. This was a piece of joy to read. Like, it was so beautiful, sad, but beautiful, which is pretty much the theme of a Jandy Nelson novel. And I just really loved this. Of course, I'd heard everyone recommending it. Everyone was telling me I should read it, and I did, and I agree. It's amazing. It follows Noah and Jude, who are twins, and it follows 2 time periods, Noah when they're about 14 and Jude when they're about 16, and it has a lot of references to art, and I don't even know how to really describe this, but it was so good. Some people said they found the 2 plot lines a bit I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it really built the story well, and you could understand where characters weren't communicating properly. And again, sometimes I hate that. Sometimes I hate when characters don't communicate. But for this, it seemed justified. Like, it made sense why they weren't communicating, and I really enjoyed that. Mucho recommendo. Like, I recommend this a lot. Like, you should read this. If you haven't already read it, go read it. And then I read The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is the first book in The Giver Quartet, of which I read a couple during this period. And I enjoyed this, but I didn't love it. I had already watched the movie. I enjoyed the movie, and I think I enjoyed this as much as the movie. I gave it 4 stars. I liked it, but I don't know. I don't know whether I'm just expecting more from a dystopian nowadays, but also a lot wasn't really explained. Like, a lot was brought up and questioned, and then not really concluded, and actually the movie I felt did a better job of that than this did, but I haven't finished the series yet, so maybe it does get better. Like, it does get explained later on in the series. And then I read Love Stuff by Kate Fierro, which is another interlude press novel following Micah and Angel, and Micah is successfully doing his life. He's an IT guy, and it's all gone great, but he hasn't found someone to have a stable, loving relationship with, and he's feeling like he's getting old, and he's not old, he's in his late 20s, and he's just feeling like it's slipping past. And his friend gives him a business card of an escort who specializes in fantasy fulfillment, and Micah, I'm gonna say Micah, that's how I pronounce it anyway, goes to Angel, the escort, wanting him to fulfill his fantasy of having like a dream date and feeling loved. Like on their date they don't do anything sexual or anything, which is weird for Angel, but he does it, he goes along with it, and it just blossomed into this huge complex love story and has all these twists and turns, and it was dramatic and heartbreaking, and Angel's like my favourite character in the world now. I absolutely loved him, he was so sweet. I felt sorry for him far too much of the time. I was like, poor baby, what is happening to you? And I loved it, and you should read it, like, do it. This one is definitely more heavy impacting than Spice. Spice is kind of fun and light. This guy, Kate Fiera, writes intense, so that's kind of what she does. I've read some of her other stuff before, which was intense, and this doesn't back down from that. So this is definitely a bit more hard impact, if that's what you're into. And then I read Gathering Blue by Lois Lowry. I read this on I finished this on the last day of the readathon, and then I managed to read another book then in the last day of the readathon as well. And this is book 2 of the Giver Quartet, and could be read without having read the Giver at all. Like, it's that different. It's set in a different era with different characters. There's no interaction between this book and the Giver, but I assume it's set in the same world, and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I didn't like this setting as much. Like, I liked the future style setting of the Giver, whereas this has kind of a old, like a feudal, oh my eye is itchy, like a kind of feudal style living. It's a bit more, not even feudal, it's more villager style, which I didn't like as much. I just didn't feel as connected to the characters. Well, I never felt connected to the characters, but I don't know, I didn't like this as much. I gave it 3 stars. The vibe was just not as good, and also the ending was so abrupt, had so many questions left unanswered. Hopefully later in the series I get a few more answers from this. And then finally I finished off the readathon with Messenger by Lois Lowry, and this is the 3rd book in the Giver Quartet, so I only have 1 left to go. And this kind of intersects the Giver and Gathering Blue, which I kind of liked, but then again this asked a whole lot more questions that it again failed to answer, or even try to explain, like even hint towards. And I kind of felt I was really left hanging at the end of this. I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. I just didn't love it. It was the 3 stars again. I just didn't love it. It just wasn't that great. Well, it didn't blow my mind or anything. So we'll see how I feel about the last one when I get around to reading it. Hopefully before the end of the month with any luck. So those are the books I read during the Bout of Books 13.0 readathon. I'm really proud of myself. I read so much more than I thought I would. I was expecting to be like not reading anything the whole, like I expected to get through. I had on my list that I wanted to read Spice, I'll Give You the Sun, and The Giver. And I thought that was as far as I would get. And then I managed to fit 3 extra books in. I'm so proud of myself, because I also read a few pages of a different book, and I read a short story from Rogues, which I will talk about in my end of the month wrap up. I'll definitely talk about the short story from Rogues in that, but I won't count them on here because it didn't really count. I don't know. Actually, no, let's talk about it. Let's quickly talk about it, but I'm not going to hold the books up again because they're heavy. Okay, so I also read 1 short story from the Rogues anthology by Gardner Dozois and George R.R. Martin, and I read What Do You Do by Gillian Flynn. Gillian? G, I don't know. And it's a horror style, classic Gillian Flynn, plot twist, cray, craziness. And I enjoyed it, but I also feel like I don't want to read any of her other books other than Gone Girl. I have read Gone Girl. I don't feel the urge to read Dark Places or Sharp Objects, particularly because her style is kind of obvious. Like, she has a female heroine that's complex and layered. Yes, good. I like that. They don't seem one-dimensional, which can sometimes be a problem that writers have with female characters. Patriarchy. I almost said monarchy. That's problematic sometimes too, but I meant patriarchy. I don't mind the queen. And there's always a plot twist, and because I was expecting the plot twist, I was surprised as to what it was, but I didn't feel like, oh my god, plot twist, like I did with Gone Girl. So I don't feel like I want to keep reading more of her things because I feel like I'd be too prepared for the plot twist and it just wouldn't live up to my expectations, and that would make me sad. So I'm not going to read any more of her books. But I did enjoy What Do You Do? It was good. So those are the books I read during Bout of Books 13.0. Let me know down below if you participated in the readathon and how you did. And I will see you like next week, in a week's time, with the RibSat, #RibSat, Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon. Wrap up, that's what I'm going for, because I will be doing a wrap up for that as well. So I will see you in the future. See you soon with a video about that. And yes, comment down below. Comment. You should participate in RibSat too. There's still plenty of time to start. And I will see you then. Bye!